Hi, my name is Karen Holmes. I'm the founder and director of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. Today I wanted to do a short video on the right to life idea. I saw in the news this morning that Asa Hutchinson, the governor of Arkansas, is has signed the Senate Bill number 6 that the abortion will only be allowed in Arkansas when necessary to save the life or to preserve the health of the fetus or the mother. Okay, and there are no exceptions for rape or incest. Okay, I wanted to explain to that. The right to life movement has to do with bringing in God, you could say, and saying thou shalt not kill, one of the 10 commandments. But God, I'm going to explain to you a little bit different about the definition of life and why that doesn't apply in this idea. And in my letter to the Supreme Court, I wrote about the 3 levels of the universe. That universal law it stands on the principles of equality, liberty, freedom, compassion, capacity, and tolerance. And that the 3 levels, the misunderstanding is that most people see only 2 levels, the constitutional law and federal law, without looking at universal law. So that changes everything. Putting universal law or God's law into our legal system changes everything. And you would think that by putting God's law in there, the right to life would be assured. And that's where the Christians are making their big mistake, is that we have, without understanding God, they're looking at the 10 commandments and saying thou shalt not kill, and that people have the right. But then there is the idea about supporting the idea of separating families down at the border and things like that, that these ideas become, in a way, almost hypocritical. Okay, so I'm going to clarify this. Before we are born, we have a soul agreement, what's known as like a contract with God to fulfill our purpose in life. So instead of looking at the idea of breathing as your life, that you have the right to life, because then governments should not be able to have the death penalty, that kind of thing, or go to war. Basically, fulfilling our purpose in life is what's important. It's not the idea that we are breathing, that we have our life. It's that we have our unalienable rights to create the life we want, to be treated fairly and equally, and to have a voice in our government. And one of the reasons that the idea is skewed is to be treated fairly and equally is not something that the conservatives really want to see, because right now what they're doing is the conservatives are denying people the right to vote, to have a voice in their government. So going against these universal laws, universal law of equality, means that I've explained about the light source invention and about how the ripples go out from oppression and intolerance. So what is this? The right to life, then. The right to life is to be able to create the life that you want without interference. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what our founders said. But the right to our unalienable rights, among them, are the right to create the life you want without interference, to be treated fairly and equally, and to have a voice in the government. So when you look at something, God sees everybody as equal. So when you look at something as equal, as that everybody has the right to their life, that's how you know that it's coming from God. If it treats everybody fairly and equally, if it gives everybody the right to fulfill their purpose in life and to have a voice in their government, like the right to vote, you see, that's where God is, and universal law. our unalienable rights. So the idea of this is that the mother has the right to create the life she wants. When the fetus is inside her body, basically what it is there is no right from God to do that. Basically, that is like an agreement to have it happen between two people, not necessarily with God. But that might be something that part of her purpose in life, and then she'll accept it. If it's not part of it, and if it's not part of her purpose in life, then she can let it go without any reservation. We all have a blueprint in our heart for the perfect life that we want, and that is our soul agreement that we have with our Creator. When their misunderstandings come in, we get kicked off course, and that's when we get into our crisis situation. And our books go into that. So when let's say a Supreme Court Justice, Neil Gorsuch, prevented this young Hispanic woman coming from across the border, basically he was interfering in her life. That Supreme Court decision went against universal law. The three levels of the universe of our government are universal law, which is where we get our unalienable rights. Constitutional law, which allows, that's like the father figure that in the family that sets the family at a certain level. Let's say that he's an ideal husband, an ideal father, has a financial structure, is mentally and morally and spiritually sound. All these things are peg that family on a very high level. If that person is let's say somebody who is a scoundrel, that pegs the family on a very low level because you're dealing with legal issues and things like that, and financial and moral problems and all this stuff. So that pegs the family on a certain level. Universal law pegs our country on a very high level. Sharia law, if they peg their country on Sharia law, any Muslim country pegs it on a lower level, although it's the application. That's more like not pegging it on that. It's more like the Constitution idea. So, but that's their application of it, of universal law. Religion is an application of universal law, okay? A cultural application of universal law. Okay, now, when a child is born and when they get their first breath, that's when they get their purpose in life. So a fetus that's being aborted doesn't have any legal rights, doesn't have any rights whatsoever to life. In a way, the child basically is the mother's responsibility at that point. And if the mother decides that it's not part of her life, part of her purpose in life, she can actually spontaneously abort it, and it's just a miscarriage. Women have miscarriages all the time, and it's not something that Governor Hutchinson of Arkansas would consider to be an illegal act. If you have a miscarriage at 5 months, that's not an illegal act. So basically, in a way, it's the same thing. It's choosing to do that. And in fact, when women realize that they can let fetuses go consciously, then abortions will be a thing of the past. So the idea now becomes, as I said, if what comes from God, it's coming from God from the standpoint that everybody is involved with it. So if let's say Neil Gorsuch is telling a Latino young woman who's been raped on her way up from Central America that culturally Having a baby at that point in time is a big disaster for her culturally. It's terrifying to her. And having her father know, it can tear apart the family. So while he thinks that he's doing this right to life idea and doing what's in everybody's best interest, he's not, because tearing apart a family because of a cultural thing is not in anyone's best interest. So that decision actually could be overturned by this, because he doesn't have the right to interfere in unalienable rights. Think about the word unalienable. So that is basically where God stands now. And now the big question is, how do you create the life you want? What are the rules associated with creating the life you want? And the first and your most important relationship is with your Creator. To get the life you want, you have to enable other people to get the life they want. And this is not aiding and abetting criminals. This is not, you cannot do that. It's like enabling somebody to get their life. You might, to get peace, you have to give peace. To get the life you want, you have to apply the principles of universal law in your own life of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That cuts through all the illusion, that cuts through all the misunderstandings about right to life. Do unto others. So it comes down to a personal choice then. I have the right to create my own life without interference, and so do you. And so does every other person on the planet, because nobody can interfere with that soul agreement, that contract that you have with God to fulfill your purpose in life. Now we can get on with a whole bunch of other ideas on how to create the life you want. And that's where I am going to start going to now. Under universal law, our exit strategy for Iraq was failed policy. So we're going to look at failed policy, and we're going to look at, on the individual level, how to create the life you want. So continue to watch. It's going to be one of the most interesting things you could possibly do in your life. So I ask that you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Most of all, share, because this is important to everybody. Thank you.